Hello and welcome to My Side of the Bag. Drew Hinesley, Scotty Worldwide, Cole Pensanti, our guest today. Want to wish everybody out there a happy holidays and specifically a Merry Christmas. Really excited to be doing this on Christmas Eve. Cole, thank you for joining us on Christmas Eve. How's everything going today?
Yeah, good, thanks. Just caught me with a nice wake-up call there. So, but feeling good, yeah. A little sore. Actually doing some workouts this off season for me, so
Whoa, get excited. Uh-oh.
uh, it's more for getting married in the next 5 weeks, but whatever it takes.
Well, congratulations on that. We'll have plenty of advice for you after the show when it comes to all that stuff.
This
My
guy
side of the
will.
bag brought to you by Birdie Brands. Game on, bugs gone, best bug spray in the game. And by Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Call it salsa, call it red sauce. When you have Uncle Keith's, you can call it a party. Scotty Worldwide coming to us from his home in LA today. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We got a little more West Coast love on the show today with my man Cole, so super excited.
Well, Cole, currently the caddy for world number 5, Lilia Vu, was on the bag for her Player of the Year campaign in 2023, which included 2 majors, the 2023 Chevron and the 2023 Open Championship. The first American to win 2 majors in a season, Cole. I know this is going to sound weird, but the first American this century to do that.
Yeah, I
Has
remember that little stat came up last year, and I think it was Julie who did it last in the '90s. So that's pretty good company to be with if you're playing in the professional golfing world.
Well, we're only a week away from 2025, so we're nearly a quarter century into the century, or excuse me, a quarter into the
into the
century, and you've got the only player, the only American to win 2 majors. So, talk about how cool that is to be able to say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's real easy when they play that good. It's almost hard to screw up. Um, and as you know, as a caddy, that's my third of this century, so I must be doing something right. So
2017 PGA Championship at one of my favorite places, Olympia Fields, with Danielle Kang. So, yes, a 3-time major champion on the show today.
Cole. Let's
yeah,
go back and let's just kind of introduce everyone to your journey and how you came into this life and became, full-time caddy. Obviously, I know your story. I know you spent time both on the men's and women's, but just give us the Reader's Digest version of your story.
um, well, usually when people ask me about how I got in the caddying, my pro-am story is just a lot of decisions in a row, and I usually will get a couple laughs because there is some truth to it. I could have probably done a lot of other things, but it's actually the Danielle Kang and her brother Alex and a couple other friends that I grew up with. They were so good at golf at the junior level, and I played with them, knew them for a long time, and so I was lucky enough to um, kind of almost start with them as they were turning professional, and that's kind of how I got started.
Amazing. And let's just sum up the rise of Lilia Vu. Obviously, came out, you know, got a card, had a really tough 2019, and then comes back and with your leadership and the team that you guys have put together, gets to world number 1, 2 majors, wins at Meyer this year after the comeback. How rewarding has that been for you just to see someone that, you know, I think what she made one cut her first time on in the LPGA, and now you get them to world number 1. Just how rewarding has that been for you?
Very, it's like very like kind of full circle where obviously she was an amazing amateur player. She was number 1 in the world for the amateur, in college for about a year or so, and then struggled quite a bit. So she had the game, But for her to put her trust, in me and her coach and the people around her to let her, take her to the where she wanted to go, that's pretty impressive. And it's also, you know, yeah, you're right. It feels great. It's rewarding to know that I was on that side of, making the right decisions, doing the right practice, giving the right advice. So, yeah, I mean, it's just like couldn't couldn't be better when you get to world number one.
Well,
And
you mentioned.
because, go ahead, Drew.
No, Scotty, go ahead.
I was just going to, because of the year you guys had in 2023, you were voted by your peers, me included, because I cast a ballot in this thing, as the 2024 HSBC Caddy of the Year. What does that mean to you?
Um, Not as much as you sometimes it feels like dipshit of the year. But um, it's nice to get the recognition, of course, and more so that it's just like nice to be in the conversation with, like, you're all the other that award, the Dave Brookers and Jason Hamiltons and all those guys that are out there and that have won it, not even just once or twice. So um, to be in that conversation, that's what probably feels maybe the best.
All right, you brought up Lilia's coach, who I've known a long, long time, Brett Lederer. I actually was caddying on the web.com tour when Brett was still trying to make it. And I caddied for one of his closest friends, a guy he roomed with, traveled with, Peter Tomasulo, who, Cole, you may know Peter or may have heard of him. But Brett is probably one of the craziest people to ever play professional golf. So, do you have any crazy Brett Lederer stories you can share with us today?
Uh, Not really. I mean, um,
I guess he's pretty buttoned up around Lilia, and he's
no,
not his true self.
no. We're very. Julia knows exactly who she's employing. There's no hiding that. But I don't think I have anything that's like that juicy, or at least wouldn't maybe get me a little bit in trouble with him, uh, without getting it, the story vetted beforehand.
Well, I shared this story with Lilia on the range at Satakoy, and I think you were close by. I'm not sure you heard the story, but Brett was there, and so I thought, Lilia, this is a good time for you to hear a story about your coach. So I'll share it with you and our audience here today. So I roomed with Brett's caddy many, many weeks, became a very close friend, still is a close friend of mine. And he tells me this story that Brett was a really good putter and thought even more highly of himself than his skill sometimes showed, and his stats were really good at putting. But he hits an eagle putt about 60 feet away and lipped it out, and was furious walking off the green that he lipped out the 60-footer. And his caddy looked at him and said, "Easy, pro. God couldn't even have made that putt." And Brett looked right at him and said, "I'm a better putter than God." So that's Brett Lederer, who's the coach for world number 5, Lilia Vu.
Well,
Never lacking in confidence.
when you can't hit it out of your shadow, you got to be a pretty good putter.
You're exactly right.
Ooh, ooh,
You're
ooh.
exactly right.
Oh,
Sorry.
No, Brett, a very good player. Never the longest player, but very good player. And he's got, I think he's the only coach on the planet to have a player win 2 majors last year. And I have actually personally told Jamie Mulligan, his mentor, that. And I don't think Jamie likes that very much either.
Talk about characters. He's on top of the.
Yeah,
hey,
that SoCal crew, they've got some personality, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense why I'm from there and why Scotty's from there, and wouldn't have changed it for anything.
amen, amen.
All right, you started 2024 number 1 in the world. You're going to finish at number 5 because Lilia had a back injury that kept her out of most of the first half of the season. Was able to come back and get that win at the Meyer up in Michigan, and then have 2 runner-ups in majors to end the year. So talk about the momentum you guys carry into 2025.
A lot, a lot. She she didn't. get quite the off season last year that she wanted, and it kind of carried into the first start of the year, um, and so we didn't get off to like a hot start like we did in 2023, but started playing good in Asia, but had a back flare up, which sidelined her for a couple months. She played through it for a little bit, but it just wasn't 100% or even 80% really. And so then she finally got the couple months off she needed and came out swinging, and won that Meyer event, finished runner up in the KPMG the next week, um, and then topped it off with another runner up at the British Open. But besides those events, it was actually kind of a year, um, just with that back problem and having to really work extra hard to even just get almost 80-90% healthy. So it was just like that lingering, like back of the mind effect of just like the rest of the season. So I'm actually pretty excited going into this next season, where she's going to have a full 2 months off before we go to Thailand. She'll be able to get completely healthy, or close to it. And so I think that the start of this next season will be more similar to the start of 2023, hopefully.
When you're in that situation and your player has an injury, something as serious as a back injury that can almost end a career if it goes the wrong way. But as a caddy, we only get paid when our players play. So that's a delicate line to dance and to walk. And when you're asked to give advice, what was your advice and what will your advice be in the future if you're put in that situation again?
Well, I don't think I would do anything different. I basically, you know, you weigh all the options. She has a physio and she has that travels with her. She has a trainer at home, and she's got coach and myself, and her, and her parents have a little bit of an input. So once you get everyone's input, I felt like I made the right decision saying just try. No one thought it was going to be anything too bad if she just kept trying to play. But you know she was the one who actually pulled the plug on it and said I just can't do it at the time, and ended up being the right thing to do. So I mean, you're right. Like if they don't play, we don't get paid. But um, I would, if I'm gonna have to defer my payment a little bit, luckily I'm one of the caddies that's not in the predicament of like I need to work to make money now to do whatever. So um, luckily I've had enough success in my career that I can take some time off and maybe let my golfer get better. And so that's probably why I wouldn't do anything different than what I did.
Well, I know from watching my wife have two children that a woman's pain threshold is so much larger than a man's. And I've had situations, even on the LPGA, where I've had a player injured, and I am always considering, I know they've got a high pain threshold, and maybe that's to their detriment because they can play through stuff that they shouldn't. So, was that ever a consideration that, yes, she's trying, yes, she's playing, but could she possibly be doing more damage than it's worth?
Um, yeah, I'm sure it was definitely thought about, but it didn't seem like that was going to be the case until she just didn't really feel like I could, just like knowing that she could do it. So, and then of course right there you put your foot down and say go get healthy. I'll see you, and I'll see you when I see you.
Cole, looking at the year of 2024, obviously super busy, especially for someone of Lilia's game, the Olympics, Solheim Cup, you guys get the playoff win in Meyer. What was the highlight for you?
Um, I think maybe the highlight for me this year was, it might have been tired of just like her coming back right away and having a lot of success, like knowing that was the right thing to do. But I think that what really etches it out just a little bit would probably be that last shot at Solheim to clinch the half point to win the cup, because the Americans haven't won the cup since the last time when I caddied for Danielle on that 2017 team. We won the cup, and then they hadn't won it since. So even though last year was a tie, we didn't lose, we just didn't win. But after that's Solheim, I would say, because that British Open finish was a little bit tough to chew and swallow
Yeah.
for both. You know, I still think that British Open might have been, even just like how I caddied that week. I honestly think that might have been the best caddy performance I've ever had, because that was just insane for 4 days, and to have your player with a putt to force a playoff on the last hole of the British Open at St. Andrews in those conditions, it was just like, almost no matter what happened, it was like a dream come true. You know, like, I can't believe they helped get us here. So that was really great. But I think that with that little fumble at the end there, to go win that last half point to get the Solheim Cup was probably on top.
All right, Cole, you're one of the few guys that have had a lot of success both in the men's and the women's game. We have a lot of caddies that watch this that are trying to get to the tour level. What would you say is the biggest difference between caddying for the men and caddying for the women at this high level?
Yeah, a lot of differences, a lot of similarities. There's just a lot of physical differences. You know, like, women hit a lot straighter. They're going to hit a lot more fairways. They're going to put themselves in a lot less trouble. With the guys, you know, you got to do a lot more improvise. You got to get crazy yardages from the trees, or, you know, fairway over or something, you know, and you got to be quick. So, and if you're not quick, then you know, it's the timing's going to be off, and, you know, be comfortable. You know, same thing for the women, though. It's like, you know, a lot of the top players, they'll be in positions where, like, even just maybe you and me, from playing golf enough and spraying the ball enough, you know, we've been in a weird spot where it's like, oh, I know what to do here. It's just a little this, and then, you know, they get over it. What do I do? And so, you know, those are some of the differences, but the some of the similarities is always going to be like saying the right thing at the right time, you know, knowing what to say, um, you know, just regular golf course management, you know, just knowing your player and stuff like that. So it really helped me to go to the men's for the few years I did, and even though I had a couple Corn Ferry Tour wins, but spent almost 2 years on the PGA Tour, you just by watching everybody else and learning, you know, what they do, and bringing that back to the women's tour, I think that really helped. But it also really helped me go to the men's tour, because you have to be so much more on top of it on the women's tour.
Explain that to our listeners. What do you have to be on top of more so in the ladies' game?
Well, in general, I would say most LPGA pros, maybe they don't need, but they want more help, more input. So, or they maybe need that little extra reassurance, so that you might. I would think that I almost would prepare a little bit more, at least pre lasers. I would say prepare more on the lasers. You got to just you have to be so much more spot on with the right numbers and lines and stuff, because those matter almost more, because you're not going to have that situation like with a guy where they're a little offline, and you know, it's just getting creative by hitting a 7-iron over a tree out of the rough.
Definitely.
Yeah, I find that with the women, they've always kind of deferred to some sort of male figure in their life, whether it's their father or a male coach, and he kind of determines strategy. They look to him, they lean on him, they depend on him more. Whereas young boys, as teenagers, they fire their parents much more quickly and become more independent, sometimes to their detriment, but they become more independent a lot quicker than the women. So they want more of an employee, where the women almost, and especially younger players, almost want you to have more of a father figure role in their life, where they really do lean on you on and sometimes off the golf course for advice, where the guys are always, 23-year-old CEOs, and nobody's smarter than them in the room. So you have to understand those dynamics when you take those jobs. You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% I agree. There's, a lot of, you can get into even like the cultural differences, with a lot of um, like Asian American or Asian American like culture that the LPGA tour brings more than the men, with a lot of moms and dads and everybody out there, and everyone, rightfully so. I mean, these girls are so young; they really be traveling the world on their own, really. Um, Whereas a lot of the young men, they're just, I mean, they think they can do anything. So uh, I definitely agree.
Cole, one of the things I've noticed by being out there with you every week is how much of a team Ilya is behind Lilia, and that Brett, that's Annalise. Um, to that point we were just talking about, how rewarding is it to being on that team and, having so many people move towards the same goal versus maybe a caddy that would be out there trying to do a lot of those jobs himself?
Uh, yeah, I'm very fortunate. I was kind of chosen to be on this team. You know? I I was before Lily. I was caddying for Kierdek, Afi Bonrat, big Thai guy on the PGA Tour, and we had just lost our PGA Tour card, and he wanted to go back to Europe, and I said, that's, go for it. He wanted to have his Thai friend come back and caddy for him. I said, perfect. I don't really want to go back to the Europe. Um, and so I got a little bit of a tryout with Lilia, and through Kyle Morrison and Brett and Jason McDeed and a couple other people who said, yeah, if you're going to come back out, this is the girl to do it for. You should give it a shot. And um, yeah, I'm happy I did. I mean, she got off to a hot start, almost won like 3 of the first 4 that that we started, and it was, no turning back from there.
Well, I know from doing this for many years, one of the biggest costs that we incur as caddies is flight changes on Friday nights and Saturday mornings. That's not something you really have to worry about. Lilia plays almost every weekend when she shows up. Talk about that, just that consistency that she's going to be there on Saturday, Sunday every single week, and it does change how you caddy a little bit, knowing I've got 4 looks at every situation.
It You're right. Actually, it definitely makes a difference. I couldn't tell you the last time she missed a cut. I think it was last summer. Um, so yeah, there's definitely never, well, I wouldn't say never, but there's never really ever a worry about like, oh, are we gonna make this cut? It's usually like, all right, what do we have to do to kind of stay in the mix, and I mean, I've changed a lot of flights in my 12 years doing this, and if I had to, I would, but I've probably ended up saving myself a little bit of money not having to do it, as much as I did for, a couple stretches in that tenure.
Well, and one of the things that kind of is, I think it has a lot to do with her consistency, is the fact that she missed, I think, 8 of 9 her first year, only made a little over $3,000 her first go round. And again, Justin Rose kind of has that same story. He missed 20 something cuts in a row before he made one as a pro, and then became one of the most consistent players in the world. And I feel like there's that, almost that gift of desperation that you're given early on, that makes you realize how difficult it is to make the weekend. And then once you get in the habit of doing that, I think it makes it that much easier to contend and then win once you overcome that hurdle.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a big mental factor in there too, you know, especially from great players that expect greatness and then they don't get it right away, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of just negativity probably from there on out, and some sort of brain reset needs to happen. Luckily, Lilia did that, you know, on her own and went back to Symetra and, you know, really did well that year that she did, and came back and, you know, was actually ready. So you don't hear a lot of players that'll do that. You know, obviously that Justin Rose is a pretty good one because what didn't he finish like third at the Open, like an amateur, or some fourth? Yeah, exactly. And then came out the next year and did nothing. So but they're, you know, the great ones will kind of end up doing something like that, and it's just tough. It just shows how hard it is, you know. How mental it is, because some of the best golfers I've ever known aren't professional golfers anymore, you know. It's just it's doing the right thing at the right time and then having the right mindset at the right time, and it's tough to get that to line up.
Well, and talk about also the ability to play different grasses, different climates, different regions of the country, different countries. Having a game that will travel is not an easy skill to have, and Lilia has that.
Yeah, she's comfortable pretty much everywhere. She likes it when it's harder. She thinks like, you know, her it's an advantage to her when it's windy or hard because she thinks of herself as very mentally strong, and she definitely is one of the most mentally strong when it comes down to like, you know, that Sunday finishing, you know, that attitude and mentality. Um and that's really where she kind of thrives. If we can kind of get into the mix on Sunday, then, you know, almost never has it, maybe once in the 2.5 years I've caddied for, has she not, like, you know, stayed in contention, I would say.
So having a strong mental player like that, we always have to do certain things either to maybe help them refocus within a round, maybe motivate them. Maybe they're one over through 12 holes, and we have to do something, play some kind of game to rectify the score before we get in the house. So, with a mentally strong player like Lilia, give us a couple of games that you've thrown at her in the past to get her back on her game within a round.
Yeah, so maybe not so much as games with her, because, you know, sure, in the past, like with other players, you know, we start make a bet or something, or you, you know, whatever. But with her, it's a little different. And if she was here, she would definitely agree to this. But I pretty much just yell at her. Because, you know, let's face it, and she's not the only one. Almost all professional golfers are absolutely ridiculous in some of the thoughts that they have during a tournament round. And every once in a while, it'll just get too much. It'll be like, hold on a second, what are we even talking about right now? And then I gotta, like, you know, jump on her and be like, bring her back down. You're being ridiculous right now. We're only 3 shots back. Whatever. It sounds like we're gonna miss the cut by 12, but we're in contention to win this golf tournament with 9 holes to play. You know, and it's not just her, but you, like I said, if she was here, she would definitely agree with me. And I've, you know, jumped on her ass a few times, and I honestly think that at least a couple of those times in the 5 wins she's had, that was like the turning.
My side of the bag brought to you by Birdie Brands. Game on, bugs gone. Great bug spray. Also smells really good and helps you focus on that back nine of a major championship. Brought to you by Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Call it salsa, call it red sauce. When you have Uncle Keith's, you can call it a party.
I just got one more for you here, Cole. What is off season like for caddying for World Number Five? Or is she sending you swing videos? Or I know you getting ready to, you know, have a wedding and some time off, but are you involved in like her off season stuff, or you kind of just chill and let her do her thing?
Yeah, so I mean, her family just had a big holiday party that I was invited to. I went to the last couple of years,
Nice.
but I wasn't able to go this year. And usually we'll go play. I'll go back to California and we'll play golf maybe a couple times,
Cool.
and or I'll go out there maybe one weekend in the next few weeks to do like driver testing or something, or, you know, just to be out there and hang
Yeah.
out and not be a complete ghost for 2 months. But I usually get like a one or two text or phone call a week, kind of update either her or Brett or whoever. Because I'm curious as to what's going on. Like, there's not a whole lot I can do from Las Vegas, but I am curious, and I do have it sometimes. Or if they've got a question on like what I think about something or stats or whatever. So um, not super close and connected and relevant, but just enough to make sure that we're still doing the right thing, and that that I actually do care, and I want to still help even though that I'm not present.
Well, going back to you talking about yelling at Lilia, I've told many a player who's hard on themselves in the past, if somebody from the gallery came up and said the things to you that you're saying to yourself, I'd have to do something. So can you just stop being so mean to yourself and let's go play and channel that aggression into hitting aggressive shots or something instead of yelling at yourself? Lilia seems like you don't have to worry about that. She's got the confidence that you just need to fire her up. Is that right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like, I'll give you the Chevron story, but like, so we won Chevron last year, and we didn't have a great Saturday, but we got off to a good start on Sunday. And basically, like, from the get-go, even though she's playing good, there was just every mediocre shot that was still pretty good, hit a or do whatever, was just like the worst shot in the world, just like with most golfers. And so after about, I think it was 13 holes or so, I just had finally had enough of it. Just like, I'm over listening to this, like, because I knew we were only a couple shots back. And so she hits a shot into, I think it was 14, and it hits the green. It wasn't a great shot, but and it was a tough putt coming up, um but goes on and on, and so I literally went to her and I said, "Are you fucking done yet?" And she was to me, "What?" And I was like, "Are you fucking done yet?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I have your putter, and you have 70 yards until the green to be done. So get it out now. Otherwise, I'm not giving you your fucking putter." And so she realized, that was like, okay, I maybe probably had pushed my limit on being a little bit of a brat, and then I need to refocus. And didn't say a word for those 60 yards, whatever. I gave her a putter. She almost made that putt, and then goes on to, make a couple good birdies late in the round and win in a playoff on a birdie. And I think if I just let her just keep going down that like drain of I'm playing like shit, even though she probably had the round of the day going, then it probably would have been a different outcome.
Awesome. Speaking of Chevron, you were the first caddy to jump in those murky Houston waters there. Was there ever a thought of not going in the water if you won?
No, I told Lily on like Tuesday. I think we played the back nine on maybe it was Monday. I don't know. But I said, hey, just make sure you don't wear white on Sunday, because this water looks pretty brown. Because I can remember that story of that, like, one year Annika won and she had a white polo on, jumped into Poppy's pond, or it was like clear and pool like, and she came out pretty brown. And so I said that, and it was a joke, but she didn't wear white. She wore blue, I think. And the day before, we actually saw like a little like racer snake or something going through the water on 17. So there was like wildlife out there.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we were reassured there was nothing too dangerous in there. And you got to do it. You got to
yeah.
do it.
Well, you must have really believed him because not only did you jump in, but you belly flopped in face first.
Oh yeah, that's So I've this is a good story too because when it was Chevron A&A Craft Nabisco, when it was at Mission Hills, that was like my favorite tournament ever. I love that golf course. It was almost kind of a home event, but it was big because being from the LA area, I had a bunch of family always come out for that event. And so I always dreamed of jumping in Poppy's Pond, like, oh, that'd be so cool. And you know how as caddies we like to sometimes get Airbnbs in some of these areas and have a bunch of other caddies stay there and grill out or do whatever, not just the hotel syndrome. So I was always in charge of renting the house that week for many years, and I always got a house with a pool. And every year I always would do a belly flop into the pool, like as practice, like this is what I'm going to do if I win this week. And so I tell the story because when people say, oh, how did you do that belly flop? So I'm like, I've been practicing for like 12.
Boom, there it is. So I should start practicing my belly flop, is what you're saying.
If you plan on doing a belly flop, yeah.
Awesome. Well, should we play a quick nine, Drew?
Let's go.
All right. We got 9 quick questions. We call it quick 9 with our man Cole. You want to start, Drew? You want me to start?
I'll start. Your favorite place in golf?
Probably got to be St. Andrews.
Not a bad one. On that token, your least favorite place you don't want to go back in golf.
It's a good question. I actually don't even know. I really don't even know. My least favorite. I'm not being very quick about it, but maybe just like one of the old driving ranges that I grew up on that had like a different ball. Every ball's a different ball. I don't
Fair.
think places ever again.
All right, your 5th major, or the tournament that's not a major that's most important to you.
I would say, well, I actually have never even worked the event, but for me it'd be Genesis Riviera on the men's tour because that was like the coolest tournament growing up. So that's kind of like what I say, even though I've never worked that event.
On that token of majors, you've won a few, but what is the best major?
Probably the first still. I mean, that was just a very unexpected one. And I was like to win a major in my first win with a childhood friend on the playing carrying for her. That was probably the most special, but I would say a close second would be Walton Heath last year at the British Open, to just go out and dominate and win by 6 or whatever we did. That was just like so much fun that Sunday. So much fun.
All right, I'm going to change the 5th question in light of the holiday. If Santa is bringing one victory down your chimney for Christmas tomorrow, which one are you taking right now?
I'll take CME next year.
He's getting
Largest
married.
purse in the women's game.
I mean, he's getting married. It makes sense, right?
That makes a Merry Christmas for everybody getting that commission check, doesn't it?
The foreseeable future to have that one.
Okay.
All right. You have been in a few. I think the playoff record for Lily is 2-1. Who do you not want to see in a playoff? Caddy and player combo.
I probably don't want to see. Actually, I feel like at this point, I don't want to see Gino.
Fair.
If I'm Lilia, and then I don't want to see Dave Jones, because I think I've lost 2 playoffs to him now.
Wow.
Ooh. Okay.
Different players, but 2 playoffs, I believe now. So, yeah, just not. I don't want to see Dave carrying the bag for anybody.
All right, hole number 7 in our quick 9 with Cole. The greatest call you've ever made.
Ah, I can tell you about a bunch of not great calls, but
Well, that's question 8, so just save that.
God, what's the best call I ever made? Oh, that I'll tell you what, that one I just said about Chevron, about not even a club, but like stuff like that, I almost feel like is better than having a good club,
Yep.
because I mean, how many times throughout a week do I go, hey, it's a 7, not an 8, and here's the reason why. Oh, okay, and then it works out great. Like those are all great calls. But God, I don't even know. I really don't. I don't have one. I don't.
I think it's fair to defer back to the 70-yard walk there on the 14th at Chevron. We can call that your greatest call.
It worked
Turned
out pretty
into a
well.
major victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Or maybe to come caddy for Lily is a pretty good call too.
Yeah, there you go, Scott. I should have said from the start.
All right, you answered it. You asked the question yourself, but let's talk about maybe one or two of those bad mistakes or bad calls.
There. I would say, well, this year. Let's see. This year my worst call was actually a bad number that I gave at Meyer, and we ended up winning still. So I'll say we can go at that way. We still ended up winning. But I hate using the laser, unless we're time for time. It doesn't flow with me, right? So sure enough, we get up there, and I go boom boom boom. Don't pull out the laser because I hate using the laser, and it's only like a pitching wedge, but we hit gap wedge, and she flushes it, and it hits the front of the green and spins off. And I'm like, oh, that was a bad number. And but then almost pitches it in from the front of the green, and no big deal. So that was probably my worst call this year, at least.
All right, last hole on the quick 9, commissioner for a day, and there's an opening now, so maybe you want to apply for the job. Commissioner for the day, what's the first change you make?
Try and hire Mike Wan back. I don't know. No, I'm sure I get the U.S. Open this year. He was just loving it. But if I was commissioner for a day, I'm so glad I don't have to be. But I really don't. I'd probably, to be honest, I'd probably end up firing about half the tour.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it. All right, that was your quick 9, but we have a bonus question because we try to get the most in. Who should be the next guest to come on my side of the bag?
Ooh, do we have a multiple choice? Do we have people that we're thinking about?
Well,
No.
you're on here thanks to the recommendation from Kyle Morrison. So he can obviously come back on, but you can pay it forward and give it to somebody who hasn't been on the show yet.
Let's see here. You want to know who would be? I think a funny conversation would be Chuck Ryan.
Yeah.
You'll get some interesting answers from him. He's about as Mr. Zen master. He'll probably be coming right off like a 10-day silent meditation too. So quite
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Well, it's the day before Christmas. Do you have anything you want to share to maybe some family and friends that might be listening?
Let's go play some golf. I'm ready. I'm coming back to California to play some golf. I'm going to Chicago to definitely not play some golf in a few days.
There you go. Yeah.
So,
I got family. I have family in northern Indiana. It's not a lot of fun this time of year for outdoor sports.
Yeah, maybe some indoor golf, some screen golf.
PGL.
My Side of the Bag brought to you by Uncle Keith's Red Sauce and by Birdie Brands. We want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank you for watching. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at My Side of the Bag at all of those stops. Give us a listen, give us a like. We would much appreciate it. Scotty, final thoughts for you before we wrap up this Christmas
Yeah,
edition.
just Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Cole, thanks so much for joining us. You've always been great to me since I started. You're the first guy to buy everybody drinks when you win. You celebrate your success with everyone, and giving your time means a lot. So thank you so much for joining us, and to all of our listeners who have been part of this journey for the last year and a half, thank you.
Yeah, everybody, Merry Christmas again. Give us a listen, give us a like, and we'll keep giving you a view of golf from My Side of the Bag.